Imagine you have this challenge. Someone has given you a fish and a fish bowl, and you need that fish to survive in that ecosystem. Well, this ecosystem has tap water, it's 72 degrees, there's some pebbles in the bottom and a castle, and you have in there a Nemo style fish. Will it survive? One of the things that might have occurred to you is that a fish like this is a saltwater fish. So the habitat is all wrong. Well, when you're using words like ecosystem, habitat, or niche, what do those terms refer to? And is it possible to build a little ecosystem where a fish can survive and you don't need to worry about it at all? That's the study of ecology. And that's what we're looking at here, specifically ecosystems. Ecosystems have to do with all kinds of interactions, but interactions between what? Let's think back to some levels of organization. An organism is a single living thing. If you get several of those same living things in some area, we call that a population. So it might be the population of mice in your house or fish in that fish bowl, or it might be the population of mice in your county. Either way, you're just talking about one species, like one kind of organism in one location. A community is more than one population interacting. In the picture here, I have a bird population, I have a cat population, I have the mouse population, I have the tree population. Well, you'll notice that is this interaction between these populations and all those things are living. If we start to include the non-living parts like wind and rain and sunlight and temperature, now we're talking about an ecosystem. So an ecosystem is an interaction between not just populations or the community, but also the non-living things. We can divide these up into two categories. Biotic factors have to do with the living things and how they interact. Abiotic, A means without, bio means life. So abiotic factors, things that are non-living like temperature or cloud cover or sunshine or precipitation like water, or the physical things like rocks or dirt and wind. Those are all abiotic factors, non-living factors that contribute to an ecosystem. All these things together then make up a habitat, that is, where organisms live. Certain organisms are going to be more likely found in certain habitat because of the biotic and abiotic factors. A niche then is, what does that organism do? What's its role in that ecosystem? Now, usually we think of a niche in terms of what that organism eats. So a good word for eat is troph, T-R-O-P-H, troph. So we might say, is it an autotroph? Does it make its own food? Or is it a heterotroph? Does it eat food? Well, whenever there's an ecosystem and these different interactions between organisms or populations, sometimes there might be some competition. You'll notice now that I have two different birds. A new bird has arrived into our ecosystem, and now there's some competition because those two birds share a very similar niche. That is, they're going to eat very similar things. They're going to need very similar resources. So whenever there's competition like that, there's several different outcomes. One outcome is extinction, where the birds compete with each other, they deplete the resources, and the bird population dies. Another is migration, where one will just leave because it can't compete with the other. A third option is specialization. That is, one bird will occupy a slightly different niche than the other bird. So maybe they are competing for a similar resource, but maybe in a different way or in a different location. so they become more specialized. So here's our ecosystem. That ecosystem consists of biotic and abiotic factors. That is the temperature of the water, the amount of salt in the water, but also things like the plant that's in the water. And an ecosystem is going to deal with a lot of interactions between those populations. In the case of our fishbowl, that plant is going to produce oxygen for the fish to breathe and maybe even produce food. The fish then will produce carbon dioxide that the plant might need, and maybe even some waste products that the plant could use as nutrients to help it grow. That's how an ecosystem works, where the abiotic factors and biotic factors interact to make life possible for all these different organisms.